As you said, we're staying in the United States to talk about Heliostar and our flagship UNGA project. It is a project in the Aleutian Islands in Alaska that has pretty much been in hiatus for nearly 40 years. Very high-grade project. And we formed Heliostar last year to unlock this district and a portfolio of high-grade targets. You can find our full presentation on our website that will include the cautionary statement. We think at Heliostar, the reason that we have an advantage in terms of returning investors, making a return on investors' investments in equities, sorry, I got tongue-tied, is that we think we have a clear pathway to 1 million ounces of high-grade gold. We think they come from our UNGA assets and our Mexican projects. And to unlock that, we have a very strong management team and board. We've got a very tight share structure, and we're in a very strong financial position. So over the last few months, from the acquisition of Heliodor by Red Star and the formation of Heliostar, we've done the hard work to put everything in order so that the highlight can move on to our assets this year. And we'll talk about why we think those assets are so attractive. Very briefly, I think we have a very strong board for a company our size. If you look, financial expertise with Jacques Vinecourt and George Island, technical expertise with myself, Alan Wilson and Ken Booth. And then as we want to take UNGA through the resource permitting and production stage, we have William Lamb and his operating experience. So we have a group of people at the board level who have gone through this process before. And that is supplemented by a very strong management team. We built the management team over the last 6 months, with Sam Anderson joining as our VP of Exploration from Newmont, and then a whole supporting team that will allow us to unlock the potential of this portfolio. If you look at our corporate structure, 32 million shares on issue with no warrants other than the broker warrants. So a very tight structure with significant torque to exploration success. And when you look at that a bit closer, 1/5 of the company is owned by the board and management, so there's very strong alignment with shareholders. Another 20% in high net worth individuals. Started to bring in some institutions in a capital raise of $7 million in August last year, and the rest is a retail share ownership. And so our flagship asset is the UNGA asset. It's located about halfway down the Aleutian Peninsula in Alaska. And when people think of Alaska, they think cold, frozen, short field seasons. And the thing that might surprise people about UNGA is it's a completely different area. It's much more temperate. And despite its remoteness, it is very accessible with either daily charter flights and regular barge trips. And so we can operate from March to November every year. Ultimately, it will become a year-round operation. The other thing that might surprise people about the property is that it was actually Alaska's first underground gold mine, and that's going to be a particular target for us, which we'll touch on. This district is an extremely large district, over 10 by 13 Ks on UNGA Island, another 5 by 5 on Popov. We've got porphyry targets, bulk tonnage gold targets, but we're going to focus on our vein targets in this presentation because we think they represent some of the highest probability high-grade targets that are available to invest in at the moment. We're going to focus on SH1, AQUILA, and Apollo in this presentation, and there's more information on our website. SH1 is the high-grade resource of 384,000 ounces at 13.8 grams. It's a wide vein between 5 and 10 meters wide. It's from surface. It's got drill holes into it like 17 meters at 24 grams. Amazingly high-grade target. What we recognized was that it's been very well drilled in the core, but outside of that, the drilling is either not there or at a very wide spacing. And so in last year's program, we reported intercepts like 11.6 meters at 7.7 grams, 2 meters at 18 grams, 7 meters at 6.6 grams. Very high grades of mineralization. The deepest hole is 5.5 meters at 24 grams. So the system is wide open to expand. And we know that these are intermediate sulfidation veins, which means they'll transition into base metal rich. And we know there's hundreds of meters of potential underneath this. So we think we can lift SH1 into the 0.5 to 1 million ounce range with a drill program this year. Our second target is the AQUILA target. We're on the same vein, 6 kilometres to the southwest. It speaks to the size of this system. You can see a large zone with high grades at surface, from the top left 10 grams, bottom left 6 grams, all the way up to multiple ounce samples on surface over 850 metres. There's multiple veins that anastomose and intersect, and that's exactly what you want to see when you're looking to find more ore shoots. Where these veins meet is exactly where ore shoots form. And so we announced our first hole at AQUILA last week. We returned 2 zones in a broad intercept. So the broad intercept is just short of 32 metres at 1.8 grams, very shallow intercept. And that has 2 subzones, a 3.6 metre intercept at 4.5 grams and another 5.7 metre intercept at 5.5 grams. That's 2 veins that are going to come together and join. And we think there's 2 ways for us to win at AQUILA. The 2 veins could form and form a single large ore shoot, as classically happens and has happened at SH1. Or we may also be able to combine all these parallel structures into a broad open pit scenario as well. So we see 2 ways to win, and we think we've just got onto a new ore shoot at AQUILA. Then moving to Apollo, this is a parallel vein trend, which was the mine that I talked about. You can see here in its heyday in the 20s, it produced about 130,000 ounces of gold at 10 grams per tonne, a very profitable mine. But they ran into a problem that is a real opportunity for us. You can see in the top left where they mined out that free milling gold, as they called it. But they didn't understand the geological model that as you get deeper, you start to get base metals. And so for them, that was an impediment, that they couldn't recover the gold from the base metals. Today, metallurgically, that's a very straightforward process. And there's 50, 100 mines around the world that would produce from these kind of vein systems. But what the old timers did was they sunk these shafts, shaft 1, 2, and 3, and Sitka, sorry. They drove these drives across and they blocked out what they called the complex ore, the sulfide-rich ore. They went one step further and they estimated that that would have 8 to 10 grams gold equivalent. And despite them telling you where it is and what the grade was, no one had ever drilled underneath that until we followed up this year. We've found the veins underneath the main Apollo. We've also found them at Sitka. We drilled just short of 2 metres at over 5 grams in the first hole at Apollo that we're going to expand upon. And we also hit the workings, but hit a broad 25 metre intercept at a gram gold at Sitka in stockwork. So now we have multiple veins with broad stockwork halos. And we're going to systematically drill this year. We're bringing up some RC rigs to do that very cost effectively. And we think we have another 0.5 to 1 million ounce gold equivalent target at Apollo. So we have some, I think, the highest grade, highest probability targets on a single project that anyone can present. And so we're going to return this year, starting in late March at the end of this month, with a phase 1 program that's fully funded, focused on these 3 targets. But then the district has a lot more to give, and we're working up a more expansive phase 2 program to consider once we have those initial results. There is, though, a perception from investors that if you're investing in a company in Alaska or Northern Canada, that you can sell and forget over the winter. We obviously have that very long field season that offsets that. The other feature of Heliostar is we have some early stage projects. We just announced this morning the commencement of an exploration program on our Coomera, La Lola and Oso Negro projects. They're in a district that is becoming a real hotspot for precious metals discoveries. Everyone's probably familiar with Santa Elena First Majestics, one of their flagship mines. Las Chispas that Silvercrest have, Mercedes that Equinox have. Recent results from Silver Tiger look very exciting. We know this part of the world extremely well. Our team's probably visited close to 100 projects in this part of the world in the last 100 years. In the last couple of years. We've put this portfolio together because we see very strong similarities with our portfolio than some of these recent discoveries. So we've just commenced a 1,500 metre drill program at La Lola. It's on a vein that's up to 40 metres wide, and we believe that it's the shallow part of the system. Our understanding is that as we go deeper, you'd get into the core of the system where the precious metals would be deposited. And so we're drilling underneath, in fact, underneath this fluorite mining and this vein here at surface, looking for that deeper target. We also own the Coomero claim block in the El Picacho district. Silvercrest last week put out some spectacular results on the Picacho vein. I think their best intercept was 7 metres true width at 40 grams. Those veins trend directly onto our property, have never been sampled or mapped. And so we're doing the preliminary work required at Coomero to work out the full potential of our part of the El Picacho district. And then lastly, we'll be doing some mapping and sampling at Oso Negro, where we've got 3 veins over 500 metres long, consistently very high grade silver with some excellent gold grades. And so our portfolio in Mexico is earlier stage, but it's probably attributed very little value in our market cap. So we think we could have a very high impact if we have any success on these 3 projects in Mexico. So Heliostar is going to be very aggressive again in 2021. We want to find that pathway to that first 1 million ounces at Unga. We'll have the drill results over the next few months from Mexico. And we think we can get significantly re-rated on some of the highest probability, highest grade exploration targets that I think you could invest in.